All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Nonprofit Enthusiast Live. I am so excited to be here with Dr. Jeffrey Thompkins. Hey, Dr. Hey, Jeffrey.
Hey, what's up? What's up? What's up? How's everybody doing? Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us today. We look forward to a conversation, learning about how you got into the nonprofit arena and more about Jet Foundation. But before we get started, if you are here, just drop a comment in the comment box. Give us a good morning. How you doing? What's going on with your nonprofit? If you're catching us on replay, give us a hashtag replay in the chat box. And we're going to get started shortly. So this month's sponsor, we are glad to be this month's sponsor. This month's series is sponsored by Nonprofit Enthusiasts, and we are proud to be this month's sponsor. So learn more about us, and then you can also save on any of your bookings 15% only for our Facebook group family. So definitely check that out. Again, if you're here, let us know that you are here, and what's going on your side of the in whichever state you are in. So we are excited. All right. So Jeffrey, I am so glad to have you on today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes. So I just want to, if you don't mind, just telling us a little bit about yourself and what led you to get into the nonprofit arena, and then tell us about Jet Foundation.
Certainly. So I founded Jet Foundation simply because I realized through personal trials and experiences that there had to be a better way for individuals in need to receive the services that they're seeking. To make a long story short, being a single father and getting really sick in my early 20s, and then getting diagnosed with cancer was super traumatic in itself, But then when I got to a point that I wasn't able to work anymore and end up losing my house and my car and finally reached out for support services and did not receive the services that I was seeking, either because I didn't qualify for those services, or maybe the funds weren't available, or maybe they didn't like that I talk with my hands, or whatever the reason be. I walked out of all those appointments seeking services and didn't get anything. So just through a series of life events just culminated into creating Jet Foundation. My background is not in nonprofits, so it was definitely a learning experience for sure. But, I think we got a pretty good handle on it, 4 years in, going on 5 years in.
Love it. Yeah, because we know starting a nonprofit is not easy. And a lot of nonprofit organizations, they enter, the founder enters because of a passion and not necessarily probably having experience in nonprofit. Can you talk a little bit more about what some of those, and I'm sure there may have been hurdles faced, lessons that's been learned. Can you talk a little bit about that?
For sure. So in founding Jet Foundation, essentially I was going to play nonprofit. And I say that all the time because that's what I was doing. I was in the process of building another company that was going to take about maybe 9 months to get through the state and all the approvals. So I was like, well, in the interim, I'll just do this because my other company would have needed a nonprofit source. But I realized I was really good at playing nonprofit, So founded Jet Foundation, just kind of feeding our unhoused population at one of the local parks, just feeding something to do with my son, and ended up loving it and falling into it. And we started feeding our community members every Sunday. I would put maybe I think it was 300 plates every Sunday, take them out to the park. And it grew from just food to clothes and shoes and sanitary supplies. And it just went from what I call like a half of a program to now being one of the most diverse minority-led organizations in the state, with a service list that now covers 24 different programs and services. So the only thing that we won't do is give an individual cash, but outside of that, anything a person could need to get from that state of situational crisis to stability, we can definitely assist them. And as far as hurdles, I started with, the Facebook definitely, and going into it like, oh my gosh, all my friends and family, oh, I'm gonna be so successful at this because all of
Mhm.
my friends and all of my families and just everybody is gonna love me and support me because I'm doing something great. And it wasn't that way at all.
Mm.
I think at the time,
Mhm.
let's say I had back, 5 years ago, I was, I was a hot boy on Facebook. It is what it is. I was a little younger, so I think I probably had, let's say, 5,000 friends. And out of those
Mhm.
5,000 friends, it was less than 50 that were supporting me. And that's a
Wow.
high number. It was probably closer to maybe 20 individuals. So doing the Facebook fundraisers and whatever I need to do and my personal funds and credit cards and whatever we need to do to get the goal accomplished. Because at the end of the day, no matter who doesn't come through from a funding perspective, people know that Jet Foundation said they were going to do this at this date and this time. And when it doesn't
Mhm.
happen, they don't know or don't care that XYZ funder didn't come through. So it was definitely the
Right.
Facebook fundraiser, starting with that, and then just still in the foundation building process, making sure I have my paperwork in order, my insurance and all those things. So it was definitely a steep learning curve because I literally just started working. I didn't have a business license. I didn't have anything. I didn't even have a name.
Mhm.
It was just me going out doing the work,
Mhm.
and then as things started to develop and people started gaining interest, that's when I was like, okay, well, I was told like, okay, you need to start getting your paperwork in order,
Uh-huh.
so definitely a lot of challenges for sure.
I love that you talked about kind of working the business before you formally made it an actual nonprofit organization.
Right.
And I think that's an awesome thing because sometimes it's through that process you know whether or not this is for or not for me. So that's awesome that you did that. And I love that you are just straight transparent. It's so true because you think about the second that I found this nonprofit organization, everybody is just gonna come flocking to my organization and they're just gonna
Oh, of
support. And
course.
you said out of
Of
your 5,000
course.
friends, it was very, very
We
small amount
talking less.
that
We
actually.
talking less than 10%, less than 5%. And it was it was humbling. I don't like to use that word humble, but it was
Yeah,
humbling,
right.
and it was upsetting. But it also hurt my feelings. Out of all the emotions that I experienced, the hurt from my feelings was the biggest catalyst to force me and push me to solidify who I am, what Jet Foundation is, and what we're going to do, and be
Got
able
it.
to not have to depend on people and rely, because I realized it's unfair. It was completely unfair for me to even go into the thought of all my people are going to support me.
Right.
It was completely unfair, and I was upset at a lot of people,
Mm-hmm.
for a long time, because I automatically expected, and I just knew they were going to do it. Like, I have parties, I'm cooking at my house, I'm doing big birthday parties, 150 people there. I do a fundraiser, and it was like 6 people that donated. But then I
Yeah.
realized it's unfair for me to expect someone to make your cause their mission. And once
Mm-hmm.
that started clicking for
Boom.
me, I realized that I had to seek my support from outside of the circle.
Mm.
And that was my path and my trajectory. So seeking non-traditional funding methods from the individuals and nonprofit organizations that I would see here
Mm-hmm.
locally in my community. Initially,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, all the people that they're friends with and they're liking and talking to on Facebook and the community leaders, like, I need to do that. I need to be their friends as well.
Yeah.
But then I very quickly realized, I was like, Jeff, you're a winner. Like, nothing against nobody else, but you're a winner. You see the support that these individuals get from these people, and you see where that support has gotten them. Is that where you want to go? Like, you just want to be another nonprofit, or you want to be the premier minority-led nonprofit organization in the state of Nevada? I chose the latter.
Right. I love it. And I love what you said. So your call for other people not to make that their
Their
necessary
mission.
mission.
Absolutely.
And that's so true because sometimes we start these organizations and we think that just because we were called to do it, everybody else is as well. And I love the
I'll
fact that
challenge
you kind
you
of
to
had to
that.
go find those other people.
We
We
assume
assume.
naturally,
Right.
naturally.
Right.
Because like, oh, my friends, my family, my mom, my sister, my brother, y'all have known me my whole life. And this is no shade, not being funny, but I have brothers. I have two brothers and a sisters, and they have never donated to a fundraiser or anything that I've done.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do I love them less? No. Do I feel some kind of way? No, I don't. Because again, I realize that not everybody will support you, and it's not that they don't believe in you or support you.
Yep.
Everybody got other things going on in their life.
It's true. Yep. That's so true. And it's almost like even with that, and I love two things. One, you kind of found another avenue. You're like, okay, that's fine. If this doesn't align, look, I'm gonna go this way and we're gonna find people that and make them my friends as well. And so I love that you embrace kind of that and you
Absolutely.
to go, and then also because I just think about it so many times that you're right. Our and I have that written down. Your call is not necessarily everyone else's mission, and we assume it's the same thing when we go to donors and all of that. We assume that you want to fund us, but if we don't tell why you want on us and make us part of their mission, sometimes we face challenges with that. I'm gonna go over to the chat really quick, and we're gonna continue this conversation. Sure. So we have hi Mika, thank you for joining us. Hi, Miss Kim. Miss Kim says, I like what I just walked into. Ooh, the energy. Yes. Hey, Miss Kim, thank you for joining us. So I had the pleasure of, when I was out in Vegas, being able to see Jet Foundation in action. And when I say do it big, you all do it big. And I know, like, even seeing your other events, like everything you do it huge. Let's talk about that. So let's talk about your event this past weekend. Tell us about that. What happened?
Woo. Yeah, so we actually just had our 4th annual holiday cheers brunch and gift spectacular. That was our Christmas event. Last year we had about 1,800 individuals. We gave 14,680 wrapped Christmas gifts, TVs, game systems. We had the Xboxes, the Nintendo Switch. We had a PlayStation 5. We gave a car away. And these engagements is not like, we don't do a Christmas event just for the kids or for the Black people or the white people or the Asians or Hispanic. We do an event for every single person that is fortunate enough to get to our reservation list before we close it. And I say that because got back from Mexico December the 3rd. I opened up our RSVP list on that Friday at 6:37 p.m. I woke up Saturday morning at about 7:05. And I was at 1,852 RSVPs. So had to close the list.
My gosh.
And so this year, the event was on Saturday. We had it here at my community center here at Aspiration Center. And we had 2,400 individuals came out. I closed the list, but being a Toys for Tots partner, as well as Nevada Firefighter Burn Foundation, receiving those toys, we were on a list for families to contact us. So before I was able to get to Toys for Tots, I got about 62 families that came through that way, and we made it work to where we allowed those 62 families in addition to, we will be distributing about 500 toys to 4 local hospitals here in Chow Haven. So Chow Haven is the place where our like CPS, DCFS kids live. So that will be the end of it. So this year we had 2,400 people. We gave 21,000 Christmas gifts. We gave about 27,000 pounds of food and other resources through our distribution. We had 250 pizzas, so we were able to feed everyone at the event, as well as send pizzas home with every single family in attendance. I think it was like 100 things of chicken. So yeah, it was a lot. It was a great event. Super excited. Was able to do some amazing things for the community, and every single person that came to our event left with multiple gifts. We were also able to do raffles. We pulled, and we got 6 families where we are paying $500 toward their rent, their January 1 rent, as well as two families. One, we will be paying their electric bill in its entirety, and another gas bill. So that was our little event,
That was your little event, really?
That was our little
Are
event.
y'all listening? I see Miss Kim, Lord levels. I'm listening, right? Are y'all hear this? So we were just talking about how when you started, their little support, and then here you are in the thousands. You said 2,400 served this past weekend. You mentioned things like Xboxes and meals, everyone going home with pizza, giving out. I mean, that sounds like a party to me. So the name of the organization, Miss Kim, I see what's Jet Foundation. Definitely check them out. So tell us, so this growth, what's some of the things you've learned, in the middle of that, from the time you had little to support to boom, where,
I realized that in order for me to walk into a room, I learned that, first of all, I didn't feel that I was qualified to be in certain rooms. I then learned that in order for me, Jet Foundation is no different than any other organization that submits a grant to XYZ funder. What is going to make Jet Foundation stand out to the point to where I'm going to take you from we're not even going to consider file to we want more information about this project or this goal or this grant request, but the most tactful thing that I realized is, how dare you go to somebody, how dare I go to somebody and ask them for anything and I wasn't qualified to do so. Like, how can I go and ask you for some funds or some food or in-kind donation and I don't even have a website for Jet Foundation? Or my website was jetfoundation.com, or not having that, or not having actionable things, items that I can tell somebody that we do, who we are, why we do the things that we do, what is our demographic, what is our cause, so that was the most tactful thing that I learned, is that I had to be qualified before I asked people for certain things. We see it all the time. Oh, I just got my 501c3. That's great. Congratulations. How do I get a building? How do I get a car? How do I get land? Baby sister, you don't even got a website. And that's not being shady. People don't know what they don't know. But the thing is, I would rather take my time to be prepared. The thing is, a lot of times you only got one shot with a funder to make that impression.
That's right. Yep.
And if I'm coming to you, excuse my French, half-assed and half-cocked and not prepared, then you can potentially screw your organization and thousands of people that you serve and potentially could serve out of those opportunities, because you didn't take those extra steps to, like, if I'm gonna give you a gift, I'm not just gonna go to the store and say, here you go, Lashina, I got you some nice sanitizer. For one, if this was I'm gonna take it, I'm gonna scrape the price off so you don't know how much it was, and then I'm gonna wrap it up really, really pretty, and I'm gonna put a bow on it and put a gift bag on it, so that way, out of all the gifts that you're gonna want to open mine first.
Yep, it stands out. There it is. You are saying what we love to say. It's important to build your infrastructure, your capacity of your organization, so that you are, in your words, you said, qualified when going out. And you're right. You do only oftentimes get one time with a donor, a grant, a grantor. So you don't want to mess that up. So if you get funding and let's say you lose the funding, getting back in there is going to be really, really hard. So it's worth you taking a moment, build your capacity. And you're right, because oftentimes, and we see it a lot too, where organizations, they get started. Hey, I got my 501c3. Now where's the money? And then that's where we got to say, hold on a second, let's help you build your programs and all the things that you need, so that when you get the money, you can sustain and keep the money. I don't know what my Zoom is doing with this. It's changing colors of it. But anyway,
you just got really, really light. Your whole skin complexion is glowing right now.
but
you know what? Actually, something that I wouldn't, something that I just thought about, something that's came to me. We always think about like qualifying your organization, and potentially we just said you get that one shot to get the grant and you don't get it. That's not necessarily always the case. And I just thought about that when way back when, way back when, I remember I applied for the Albertsons Nourishing Neighbor, Albertsons grant, right? I'm like, I got my 501. Everybody like, you apply for a grant. I applied for a grant from them. It was a small grant. I think it was like $1,500, right? And it was like money, dollar-wise. I was like, well, I'm new. They not gonna give me no money. I think it was a $1,500 grant, and I asked for like $1,000 in gift certificates. Albertsons was like, okay, boom. By the time I took my finger off the send button, they had approved the grant.
Wow.
And like a week later, like maybe a month or so later, they sent me an email. And I'm like, oh my God, I got the grant, $1,500, $1,000 gift card. Again, way back when, that $1,500, that $1,000, I thought I was about to change the world. And they sent me an email and was like, we like what you do. And I didn't, that was the first grant I ever got. I didn't know what I was supposed to do. They didn't tell me about reporting, no, nothing. So in my mind, I'm a visual artist. I can get people, I'm very good at getting people to see what I want them to see. So my pictures, my videos, I had a photographer following me. So I sent them this amazing video that I thought was amazing. And they invited me to apply for a Nourishing Neighbor grant, which was $50,000. So I'm like, okay, they just sent this to me. Okay, because I'm in their distribution list. Come to find out, they actually personally invited Jet Foundation to apply for this grant because, and the lady told me, she said, we know you are not, she used a company, but it's a huge organization. I'm not gonna say it. She was like, we know you're just getting your feet wet. She was like, but we want to give funding opportunities to organizations like yours because the traditional methods, we haven't got the results that we had, that we wanted. So in my inexperience, I secured Albertsons and Safeway, and they have been funding Jet Foundation since then. We just got a $12,000. $12,500 grant for them for Christmas. Last year, we got a $20,000 grant in gift cards. And I think it was $10,000, so even though you may not be qualified, even though you may not be where another organization is, as far as their programming, their access, their visibility, their budget, most of the time, I can say that people saw my passion and my determination through some of the things that I was lacking. I remember the first time a funder asked me what my budget was, and I had no idea what they were talking about. And I was completely transparent. And to this day, they are still a funder. And they was like, okay, we understand that, but we need to get you in.
Right.
So
Yep.
Just realizing that you can't do everything yourself. I'm a great nonprofit founder and executive, but I'm not a CPA. I'm not a strategist. I'm not a fund developer. Like I became a website designer, a graphic designer, a janitor, a bus driver, a mover, and all these things. But knowing that when I got to the point that I couldn't do everything, bringing in people that operate in certain specialties so that way they can put their expertise and they touch into this Jet Foundation package to make it more presentable to other people.
Love it. And that is it. And that's the other part of it. If you don't build your infrastructure, if you don't, as you go along the way, there are going to be things like, can you give us your budget? Can you give us what's your marketing plan? What's your strategic plan for the next year? There are going to be those things, but sometimes even, fortunately you were able to kind of get it and provide those things over, but there's some things that don't happen that quickly, so definitely, if you could look ahead at it, that's awesome. But also there are, that other way of learning where you're going along the way. And then it's kind of like these pause as you go, because you got to get some of these pieces that's required as a part of their process. That is amazing. I mean, you are doing amazing things out there in Vegas. You had your huge event. We appreciate you coming on and sharing. So tell me, so this month's theme in the group is fund development and year-end planning. We could talk about either one. What are some things that your organization is doing right now as you just had your party last year, as you wrap up the rest of this year?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And if you asked me that question last year, I probably wouldn't have had a solid answer to, but it's all about growth. You know,
Mm-hmm.
year-end planning and something that I'm working on next year is like our capacity building for next year
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and our fund development. So I think that both the topics that you said, I'm going to speak into them and I'm going to
Okay.
intermingle those
Yeah.
topics. So as far as capacity building, everybody know, and this is not me being cocky or whatever, everybody know in Las Vegas that who Jet Foundation is and what we do.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody know that when we have a big event, it's going to be 20, 30 logos on the flyers. It's going to be this big thing. But the thing is, I'm able to do that year after year, event after do, because I do what I say I'm going to do when it comes to my funders and my sponsors. Now, I only use sponsors in the realm of these kind of conversations for relatability, but Jet Foundation don't need sponsors. I don't need sponsors. Like, I can get a sponsor in from anywhere. I need Jet Life family members that's going to represent, show up and show out, and buy in and support who we are and what we do. So as far as capacity building, I would say you always have to make sure that you circle back to those people that supported you from January 1 to December 31st. Hey, thank you. Even if it's a card, even if it's an email, if you don't have the budget to send out, these flyers and these gifts, thank you. We appreciate you for your funding. That's gonna let them know that you support, that you appreciate them, their initiatives, their goals just as much as yours.
Right.
And in fund development, I think it's the same thing, sending those same kind of thank yous. Like my video, I couldn't wait to send the video from Christmas to every single person that sponsored or send a donation over to Jet Foundation, especially the ones that weren't able to be there. Coming up with our impact report for the year, and know what that was. I was asked for an impact report last year and had to go to, our compliance director was like, oh, well, we need an impact report, but knowing what that impact report is and knowing how to leverage what you've done this year and give it to the funders that supported you, so that way they can open up their wallets just a little more going into next year. And in fund development, some of our funders that have sponsor our events, our single events like Easter or Christmas or Thanksgiving, going back to them and turning those single event sponsorships into yearly sponsorships. So those are the conversations that I have been having. I've had 3 meetings since Saturday about strategic planning and fund development for next year. You know who we are. You support Jet Foundation. You come out to our events. This year you came out to 5 events and you gave maybe, let's say, $25,000 in sponsorship. Let's get that going next year so we can already have you included into what we want to do. So my fund development and strategic and like capacity building is all in the same. Appreciating the people that support you because they didn't have to. And I make that very, very abundantly clear to people. It's a lot easier it's a lot harder for someone to give Jet Foundation a check than for them to give St. Jude's or American Cancer Society.
I love what you're saying because oftentimes, let's say you're getting ready to have an event, you forget about those that gave to you. And yes, throughout the years, you should be thanking them and, whether it's that and keeping them informed as to, what's happening with their donation. And don't forget about them, because sometimes we make work harder for ourselves. We have this event coming up, then we're like, okay, who can we reach out to? And forget about the people who already gave and know about our mission. You know what I mean?
That is so true. Like I am a huge, people that know me know me. My Jet Life family members, they get it. Like, and I tell them, don't give me, when they give me their cell phone, they be like, oh, well, let me give you. I be like, look, and I give that full transparency. Don't give me, if you give me your cell phone, then that means we friends.
Right.
And like, I'm friends with my friends. Like, I'm not like a sometimey friend. Like, I'm a friend.
Right.
I text my funders. I email them. I send them memes. I call them. I know about they personal life. Like, I know about what's going on in their life. Like, so that, like, I'm not one of those people that you only gonna hear from when I want to check. Right. Because then you gonna turn into one of those people that don't answer the phone when I call you.
Right. Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Yep. Think about it. Like, we got those people in our family like, oh my God, okay, Kelly calling. Oh my God, we already know she gonna want some money.
Yep.
And that's because historically speaking, the only time you call is when you want or need something. Not me. My people don't know what I'm calling for. Like they never know. Like it's a complete surprise. Like I'm like, oh yeah, I saw you on TV at the Golden Knights game. You looked cute and whatever. You know, I have a individualized personal relationship with every single funder that I have.
That is amazing. And that makes a big difference, because when opportunities come, guess who they calling?
Mm-hmm. Yep. You know, and something that I thought about that is important for all the individuals that's on the live. You have to be ready, able, and willing to seize an opportunity when it presents itself. And I didn't think about saying this, so I haven't thought about the words or how it's going to come out, and I hope this doesn't offend anyone, but COVID happened in 2020, and I was like, you know, just like a sail in the wind, just flowing, you know, or just going. You know, I didn't know what COVID meant because a lot of the misinformation that was coming out of the administration at the time, I was just working, just doing stuff. And individuals, and I tell my son this all the time, always be cognizant of the image that you put out, because you never know who will be watching you. And the opportunity that they may be able to present to you later. COVID happened. The whole world shut down, including Las Vegas, including the city, including nobody was doing nothing. People struggling for food, toilet paper. Lord, couldn't find toilet paper. You know, I was out doing my thing. You know, against all the warnings, against my own health and safety information, and my doctors and people, and you know, with my health issues. COVID happened, and because of COVID, there was a lot of money put out into the world, you know, and because Jet Foundation was one of those organizations that was out there working, individuals that had access to funds and opportunities saw that, you know, and my point of this is saying that COVID did a lot of things to a lot of people and affected a lot of people in different ways. Jet Foundation didn't suffer by COVID. COVID thrusted Jet Foundation into a stratosphere that I never thought was possible, just because on my inexperience and desire to help people. You know, so again, my desire to help people and my why shone much brighter than the actual experience that I had in nonprofit. You know, all I knew that I wanted to help people, you know, and then people that had the resources and infrastructure to be able to support my mission saw that, you know. So that's one of those things that, especially like in this age of social media, we got to be cognizant about what we put out there. We got to be cognizant about what brands we intermingle with, because at the end of the day, your brand is your brand. And once it's, you know,
right, you don't want to mess up your brand or have a bad name in the community or whichever. Don't work with that organization or those type of things. That's so true. And the cool thing about it is, even like, let's say you have a passion, you kind of talked about it. You said, okay, when they asked you, I forgot when they asked you for your impact report, you went to your compliance officer, hey, we need one of these. What we need to do, you know? And the good thing is, and that's why I always like to talk about people, processes, and systems. You as the founder don't have to do it all, and you don't have to be it all, and you don't have to know it all. You know, when you have an amazing team around you, you have amazing resources around you that you can tap into, you know, that can help you do this. Go for it. I'm all for it. Like, you need to tap into it, save you the energy so you could go out and do the things that you love to do. And then you have others working, everybody's working in their strengths pretty much. They, you know, they love what they're doing and they can do it very well. You don't have to try to equip yourself with all of those tools. So that's what, when you were talking, I was just thinking about that, because a lot of times we try to do everything, stretch ourselves too thin, and then that lessens the impact that we have in the community. So.
Or can I challenge you to reconstruct what you just said? You said often we try to do everything, right?
Yep. And be everything.
Also often all too often, especially for minorities in nonprofit, we have to do everything. We're forced to be everything. But a point of something that I was saying earlier is there has to come a time when you realize that you can't do other things, and that your organization is getting to a place to where, okay, like I did an impact report just because I needed to, but it's going forward, we need it to be better. We need someone that is fluent in impact reports to create our impact report, you know, and also often I see that minority organizations fail because we don't have the resources. We don't have those additional funding opportunities, because we all know the funding disparities that exist between minority-led nonprofit organizations, you know. So it's just one of those situations that, you know, seize every opportunity that you can, seize the opportunity. And then sometimes, like, I think that we get that mentality that, oh no, I don't, it's me. I want all the focus to be on me. But you can sometimes partner with an organization that has some of these processes, people, and infrastructures in place. And you can barter services. You know, like, okay, I may not be good at paperwork and impact reports and compliance stuff, but I'm great at making flyers. I'm great at designing websites. Marketing and advertisement is my greatest thing. So me, I have been successful because I operate in my greatness, things that I know I am great at, because I don't want to halfway do something. I need to be great. You know, so realizing that and bartering some of those services to other individuals, you know, to where I didn't have to pay thousands of dollars to get those things, because the benefit that I could give them outweighed me having to pay them from those services, you know. So I challenge individuals to look at it like that. Like, we are not in competition. Well, let me say, I am not in competition with anybody. Jet Foundation is not in competition with anybody, because you don't compete where you don't, you can't compete where you don't compare. And Jet Foundation is unlike any other organization. I don't care who they are, you know. So it's the lane that I am in, I stay in. I don't try to straggle out into other people's lanes. I don't claim to be an expert in things that I'm not. I'm an expert in Jet Foundation, who we are and what we do.
Love it. So anything else you feel like those tuning in before we wrap up today's conversation? We definitely appreciate you coming on, giving us perspective as a founder and as executive director. And I know that you are helping many that's tuning in, and who knows, maybe at that beginning stage that you talked about, trying to figure out, like, where do I get support? How do I get support? And I don't know about you, if I was them, you are giving hope right now, you know, like, yes, keep going, keep doing it. There's other, you know, there's people out there that wants to support your mission. You know, there's things that, you know, both your organization needs to do to help make that connection. And also sometimes you got to look outside of where you typically have been looking.
Absolutely.
So anything else you would like to add before we close out today?
For sure. A couple of things. One, we probably all heard this. If you always do what you've always done, you will always get what you've always received. In order to change things up, you got to be the catalyst to change the rotation of the wheel. Yes, Ms. Kim, you're more than welcome to reach out to me. I just seen that pop up. So, you know, and another thing is, once you realize and understand the power and the value of your story, don't ever let nobody take you backwards. It's so many times that I didn't think I was qualified just based off of me. Like, I'm Jet Foundation. I didn't think that I was qualified, right? In the realm of other organizations. Jet Foundation is just Jet Foundation, you know. And I say that to say everything I say got a story, right? Me not thinking Jet Foundation is qualified. We were up for a community impact grant, collective impact grant just recently. And it was us against St. Jude's. Everybody knows St. Jude's. It was us against Discovery Children's Museum, which is a huge museum here. It was UNLV, Fostering Kinship Program, Cura Dad, and one other program, right? And I was like, oh, it's no way in heck we're gonna get it. I am happy to report Jet Foundation walked out of there with the grant, you know. And even me sometimes not realizing the impact that we have and the respect that the work we have done has gained can sometimes put me off. And it's like, well, you know, I don't think that we are enough. But trust me, even though at those times when you are doubting your organization and yourself as not being enough, as not having money in the bank, as not being able to help those clients, as having to turn somebody down, it's more people that support you, trust you, and pray and encourage you and lift you up than you realize.
That's
So
right.
with that being said, everybody, don't give up. We all been there. You know, I may dress like a Power Ranger, but this did not happen overnight. It's gonna be a lot of times when you want to give up. It's gonna be a lot of times when I done cried myself to sleep. It's a lot of times when I done took out a payday loan, maxed out credit cards. Last year, I gave my Mercedes, my BMW up and let for a voluntary repo to pay rent in my community center. If you are vested in who you are and what you do, then you got to make it happen, because at the end of the day, if you don't do whatever it takes to believe in your mission, why should anybody else? So y'all, everybody, this your man, Jeffrey.
I know you can't even say nothing else after that.
You know, I don't want to do that because I'm starting to get chills, you know, but this is what I'm about, you know. I'm definitely about empowering those individuals, and I'm an outside of the box thinker. My out of the box thinking has gotten me to where I am today, you know. So challenge yourself to be, challenge yourself to be somebody to be a conventionalist, you know. And as always, you know, you can reach out to me. Our website is, I put it in the chat, www.myjetfoundation.org. You can reach out to me directly. You know, my email is drtompkins@myjetfoundation.org. You can reach out to me on Facebook. You can, our Facebook page is Jet Foundation. You know, and any questions, concerns, comments, whatever, just reach out to me. I'm always here, you know. And for whoever is on here, I just want to say thank y'all for always, you know, Lashina, thank you for always, you know, being there to support, you know, our Jet Life mission to make people matter. You know, tell Mr. thank you and the friend thank you, because we worked out when y'all came out here, and we look forward to it again.
Yes, we came out to Vegas and worked, y'all.
For SEMA, right? It was for SEMA?
It was, yeah, we were out for SEMA, and then it was one of your events that you had out, and we were working, y'all. Woo! Yeah. But it was really good. No,
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Thank you.
No, I'm glad.
And that's a prime example of connection. That's a prime example of how important connections are. Because you and I had not met before then. I think we maybe chatted through Messenger or something through Ben. And then you came out here, you hit me up, and I was like, oh, come on over. And you came, you know, so, and that's another thing about capacity building and fund development is connections. Connections. You don't have to do everything on your own. You should be connecting with other organizations and like-minded individuals. So I'm super pleased that we were able to connect. I'm super pleased that I was able to volunteer y'all for a day, you know, and super excited to everything going forward.
Love it. Looking forward to continue to work together, and appreciate you coming on today and sharing. I mean, I could see that a lot of us has benefited from a lot you've been sharing. I see the chat box flowing, and I feel like you are inspiring a lot of people right now just through just sharing your story of where you all were, where you all are now, giving us hope, because we know it's not easy being in the field. We got to keep going, and we need this type of motivation. So we appreciate you coming on and doing just that, revving us up as we end 2023, so we know we could hit, you know, as we end 2022, so we can hit 2023 just running, and continue to be motivated, because we need these motivations throughout our year. So thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate you. Thank you all for tuning in. Definitely check out Jet Foundation. You'll see the information in the comments box, and we appreciate you all tuning in, and we will see you all next week. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Everybody have a good day.